Hi, I'm Deborah Stengel, founder of Sedona Soul Adventures, an international #1 best-selling author of The Journey to Happy, coming to you again from incredibly beautiful Sedona, Arizona, and I'm so happy you're here with me again. Today I want to talk to you about how to have the relationship of your dreams. And I want to tell you, I know it's possible. Unconditional love. Everyone talks about unconditional love, but have you ever really been able to give that, except maybe to a baby? I mean, we all talk about it, we all say we want it, we all say we want to give it, and we all try, I think, but then those darn conditions just kind of get into the way, don't they? If he would just fill in the blank, then I would be happy. If she would just let me fill in the blank, then I would be happy. After all these years of working with couples, 20 years I was a divorce attorney, and now 17 years working with Sedona Soul Adventures and doing couples retreats. What I've discovered is that what I think we all want is for someone to really get us, to know everything there is to know about us. All the good stuff, all the bad stuff, all the weirdnesses, but even after all of that, they still love us and want to be with us. Now that is my definition of unconditional love. And the quickest way I've found there is to get there is to take the other person off the hook. With all the couples retreats that I've done over the years, what I see over and over again is that even though people say they love their partner, they want them to be completely different. They contact us and tell us, I want you to fix him, or I want you to fix her. I want them to change so that I can love them. In every moment, we can either choose love or something else. Upset, fear, jealousy, frustration. How do you want to live your life? I highly recommend living it from love. The big problem is most people don't know how to do that. We don't know how to communicate to our partner how what is happening is hurting us. When something happens, we don't have the tools to communicate our hurt and loss to our partners in a way that they can receive it. And we don't know how to let go of the hurts from the past that are still haunting us. And sometimes those are things that happened years and years ago. When I was a divorce attorney, I actually had a client who came to me, and she was over 75 and he was over 75, and they had been married for over 50 years. And I had said, please do marriage counseling. And the other attorney said, yes, they should do marriage counseling. And the judge said, of course they should do marriage counseling. They were in marriage counseling for 2 months, going once a week, and finally the counselor came back to us and said, I can't do anything with this. They are still fighting about stuff that happened over 40 years ago. And it wasn't big stuff like infidelity or something like that. It was things like buying a vacuum cleaner that was too expensive. I mean, small stuff. And I'll tell you, in my opinion, busting up a family over those kinds of arguments isn't worth it. Most people have no clue about how to let go. Last year, we had a couple who came here, and they felt like their marriage was pretty much over. They had been married for over 20 years. They had 2 adorable kids in high school, and they had been in love when they first got married, but they had just really, really grown apart. They both had very separate interests. Their work was very different, and they just felt that they didn't have things in common anymore. The other thing that had happened was they had started to have really nasty fights, and words were said that just couldn't be taken back. They had actually separated, and she had even contacted an attorney. This was a last-ditch effort. He had convinced her to come and do the soul adventure. She didn't want to, and their goals were completely different. Finally, she decided to come. His goal was to put the marriage back together. Her goal was to have the divorce go smoothly. So that's how the 2 of them started out. But then something very interesting happened. In their first couples session, they both did acknowledge how much they had loved each other over the 20 years they had been together. They also identified the things that had started to make things go off the rails, which had led to his feelings of inadequacy and her feelings of lack of respect towards him. Then they both did separate emotional clearing sessions. In her session, she came to this huge realization that she was acting out a pattern of her mother disrespecting her father. And what had happened was this had triggered feelings of inadequacy in her. This is what can happen with children. Children know somehow that they are part of their mother and part of their father. And so what they see played out, they take on. This triggered huge feelings of inadequacy with her. And of course, it was completely unconscious, but it led her to believe there's something wrong with me. She had never dealt with these feelings of inadequacy. And her practitioner was able to help her to move out all of those feelings and then move out all the pain and grief that had come in because of what had been triggered with everything that was going on in her marriage. And then in his emotional clearing session, he realized that her disrespect of him had triggered his own feelings of not enough. In the session, the practitioner dug deep and discovered that there was an event that happened when he was 6 years old, when his father, who was probably tired and in a bad mood and probably frustrated, who knows what was going on with him, but in a completely thoughtless and loveless way, said to this little 6-year-old, "You're worthless." And this, of course, cut that little 6-year-old to the depths. And he told us he had never really remembered this before until he went into the session. And when he went into that session, went into that pain, all of a sudden he was that 6-year-old again and crying and feeling the pain, but also moving that pain out and through. He sobbed, and he said to me later, "I grew up with this idea that men aren't supposed to cry, but I can't believe how good that felt to finally let go of all of that." Both of them were triggering each other's unhealed feelings of inadequacy. It's the ultimate irony, isn't it? That the person who's supposed to love us the most is the one that's really triggering those unhealed parts of ourselves, that not enoughness. But that's the nature of relationships. Our deepest relationships trigger our unhealed parts and bring them up for healing. It's the crucible, burning off the impurities to get to the gold of a healed heart. Most people don't understand that that is what's really going on in relationships. We're always focused on what the other person is doing to us or not doing for us, when what's really happening is that the other person is triggering old wounds that are coming up for healing. Wounds that usually happened in childhood and don't even have anything to do with our partner. But the really amazing part for both of them came in their breath journeys, which they each did separately. The breath journey took her deep into the altered state, and suddenly her mother appeared to her. Her mother had passed away many years ago, and her mother just felt like the embodiment of love. And she felt this love from her mother that she had never felt before. And then also her mother showed her the deep love that her mother had for her father. She said she was filled with this love and with this realization that everything is all about love. There really isn't anything else that matters. Suddenly, she felt her heart burst open with love for her husband, and she realized how deeply she loved him. And all of the past years just felt like they had blown away, and she saw this image of herself and her husband just kind of walking off into the sunset, blissful and happy. So then in his breathwork session, he saw all kinds of images and colors, and that really surprised him because he doesn't consider himself a very visual person and not a very spiritual person. So really to have these images happen was very surprising. But the biggest one was when his father appeared to him. And his father again expressed all this deep love for his son. But what he also said to him was that it was time for him to be a man. And not a macho man type, but the kind of man who takes care of his family and takes care of his wife so that they know that he's there for them. And he could see how he hadn't done that in the last few years. She felt very not taken care of. And so he said to me, he actually felt stronger as a man coming out of this session. After these amazing clearings and healings and realizations, they then came together for a couples session. Both of them were so full of love for each other, they were bursting. Their marriage was completely restored. Through all these sessions, they received tools for continuing to have all of this continue to go deeper and maintain, especially through deep and honest communication. The best part was that after they went home, everything just did continue and continue to go deeper and deeper. And one of the things they said that was so amazing was all of the outside circumstances were still the same. They still had very different interests. There were still things going on with their work and that kind of stuff, the same stuff that they thought had brought them here. All of that was still going on. But what it came down to for both of them was, I love you and I want to be with you. And so everything was just operating from that love. And a few weeks ago, they came for another soul adventure, just to really amp up the sizzle again. It was so great to see them, and so great to see them so in love. What they both did was to take the other person off the hook. They both feel loved and respected by the other. And that's the most critical piece for both of them. I love it so much when we can heal the wounds of the past and go back into love. So how's your relationship doing? Is it blissful and fabulous, or are you just going through the motions? Are you going along to get along, or are you happily and deeply in love? Do you feel loved and respected and cherished? Make the decision to come back into love. The problems that you're facing may actually be the result of woundings from the past, rather than that person who you think is doing things to hurt you. Connect with us and let's find out. Let's find out what's blocking you from having the relationship of your dreams. It may be something completely different from what you think it is. Whatever it is, we can help you both come back into love with yourselves and with each other. I hope this helped. And if you got value from this video, please take the time to like it, share it with someone in your life who you think might get something out of it, and subscribe to our channel. And if you want an even more direct path to having the relationship of your dreams, go to SedonaRetreatGuide.com and get your complimentary copy of the Sedona Guide to Couples Retreats today. Or if you'd like to talk to someone about doing a retreat that's custom designed for you, call us at 928-204-5988. You can have the life and the relationship you want. I know it.